Something huge just happened in the AI world, and the strange part is that almost no one is talking about it. One of the actual architects of modern artificial intelligence, the person whose work sits underneath every computer vision system, every self-driving car, every image recognition model, just walked out of Meta, and not quietly. Yann LeCun, the scientist who helped create the backbone of deep learning itself, is gone. This isn't a VP leaving. This isn't some internal reshuffling. This is the man who helped invent the field, stepping away from a tech giant because of a deep disagreement about the future of intelligence. And what shocks me most is how lightly the news cycle reacted. It's like watching Einstein walk out of a physics institute and seeing everyone shrug. For anyone who doesn't know the scale of this, Yann LeCun isn't just a name in the research community. He is one of the godfathers of deep learning. His work on convolutional neural networks in the 1980s and 1990s is the reason machines can recognize faces, identify objects, and power autonomous systems today. Long before deep learning became fashionable, he and Jeffrey Hinton were training neural nets when academia considered them a joke. People literally told them they were wasting their careers, but they kept going, and they ended up being right. LeCun also built Linnet, which looks tiny by today's standards, but is basically the ancestor of every vision model used today. The irony is that people scrolling Instagram right now are using technology he designed decades ago. So the idea that someone at that level, someone who received the Turing Award, the Nobel Prize of Computer Science, would just walk away from Meta should have caused an earthquake in the tech world. Instead, it barely made a ripple. But the inside story is far more explosive than the headline. And once you understand the details, you realize why Meta should be absolutely terrified. The truth is, Meta hasn't been leading the AI race for a long time. They've been reacting, chasing, playing catch up, and the one person inside the company who still cared about long-term scientific breakthroughs rather than hype cycles and quick product launches has now left to build something entirely new. And the reason he left isn't difficult to understand. It's a direct collision between two completely opposite visions of where AI should go. The first sign of trouble appeared when Meta restructured its AI organizations. FAIR, the research lab LeCun had led for more than a decade, was pushed to the side. Suddenly everything revolved around LLMs, product teams, and speed. It was no longer about building the future of intelligence. It became about building the next chatbot. Then came the bizarre management shuffle. After the restructuring, LeCun would now have to report to Alex Wang, the CEO of Scale AI. Wang is smart and successful, but he's not a researcher. He's not a Turing Award winner. He does not have decades of scientific contributions. For anyone who understands academic culture, the optics were painful. This was the equivalent of asking a senior professor to report to an undergraduate who struck gold early. But the hierarchy issue isn't the core of the story. The real shock comes from the philosophical collision that Meta could no longer avoid, because Yann LeCun does not believe LLMs will lead to AGI, and he hasn't been subtle about it. Over and over again, he said that LLMs cannot reason, cannot plan, cannot build grounded knowledge of the physical world. They can produce text, but they can't understand the meaning behind it. In several talks, he said plainly that scaling LLMs is a dead end.
We are not going to get to human level AI by just scaling up LLMs. This is just not going to happen.
He even used the phrase, LLMs are an off-ramp on the path to AGI, and said that if someone truly cared about human-level intelligence, they should not be working on LLMs at all. Meanwhile, Zuckerberg has taken the exact opposite position. He put LLMs at the center of Meta's entire strategy. And this is where the story turns from surprising to shocking. Meta wasn't just accelerating LLM work, they sidelined everything else. And while this was happening, Llama 4, a release that was supposed to establish Meta as a frontier AI leader, turned into a complete disaster. Llama 4 wasn't just disappointing, it was embarrassing. Weak reasoning performance, unstable coding ability, unreliable outputs, poor long-form writing, and benchmarks so low that engineers inside Meta quietly removed the project from their resumes. Some even admitted that working on Llama 4 could harm their future career prospects. When a flagship model performs so poorly that people pretend they were never involved, something is deeply wrong inside the organization. The fallout was immediate. People resigned, executives left, and online discussions began blaming the one name most associated with Meta AI, Yann LeCun. But the truth was even more unbelievable. LeCun wasn't involved in Llama 3 or Llama 4 at all. He eventually had to come out publicly publicly and clarify that he had no technical contribution, that he wasn't even in the room when these models were created, and that his lab fair had not been working on LLMs for years. He was busy working on something totally different, and that something different is where the next chapter begins. LeCun believes the world has made a fundamental mistake by obsessing over LLMs. In his view, the industry is repeating the same mistake that delayed AI in the 1990s. But in reverse, back then, people dismissed neural nets. Today, people worship LLMs and refuse to explore architectures that might actually create human-level reasoning. In multiple talks, he has said that generative models should eventually be abandoned, not improved, abandoned. He believes probabilistic models aren't the right foundation. He believes contrastive learning isn't the long-term path. He believes reinforcement learning should only be used as a last resort, and he argues that the future lies in a completely different direction.
Recommendations: abandon generative models. The most popular method today that everybody is working on. Stop working on this. You work on JEPAs. Those are not generative models. They predict in representation space. Abandon probabilistic models because it's intractable. Use energy-based models.
That direction is world models. Not text generators, not token predictors, world models. Systems that learn by watching reality, not reading about it. Machines that build internal representations of cause and effect, physical dynamics, intention, movement, prediction. His V-JEPA architecture is based on this idea. Instead of generating pixels or words, it predicts the future inside a high-level representation space. It learns by watching over 1 million hours of video. It tries to understand motion, action, and outcome. It tries to figure out how the world behaves instead of memorizing how people describe it. And this approach is so fundamentally different from Meta's direction that anyone paying attention could see exactly why LeCun couldn't stay. Meta is building Llama. Meta is building chatbots. Meta is building digital characters. Meanwhile, the man who helped invent deep learning wants to build machines that actually understand reality. He even said publicly that AGI arriving in 2 years is complete nonsense. He said there is absolutely no way that a nation of digital super geniuses is suddenly going to appear inside a data center. What people will get instead, he said, is something that just feels like a PhD whispering answers, not a system that truly thinks. That is the rift. And that is why this moment is so shocking. This isn't just a resignation, this is a declaration that the industry's current trajectory, the one everyone is racing toward, is wrong. And Meta understands exactly how bad this moment looks for them. They lost their most credible scientific voice at the exact time their biggest rival, DeepSeek, is outperforming them with models that cost a fraction to train. They lost their most respected researcher right after the most embarrassing model rollout in their company's history. They lost the one person who could have kept them grounded in long-term science rather than short-term hype. Now, a Turing Award winner is walking away to build a new kind of AI, one that does not rely on LLMs at all. And if his theory is right, the next major breakthrough in artificial intelligence won't come from OpenAI, Google DeepMind, or Meta. It'll come from a new lab that hasn't even been built yet. A lab built around an entirely different understanding of intelligence. And the irony is chilling. If LeCun succeeds, Meta may eventually have to buy back the technology they dismissed. That's the part no one seems to be processing. The foundations of modern AI were built by people like Yann LeCun, and now he's walking away to build the next foundation, one that the rest of the industry may not be prepared for. This isn't just a senior figure leaving a company. This is the field splitting into two futures. One future keeps scaling LLMs, trying to stretch them further, forcing them to imitate reasoning. The other future tries to build machines that actually understand the world. And right now, one of the greatest minds in AI history has chosen his side. That is the real shock of this story, and it is only beginning. So which side of the emerging AI divide do you support? The LLM scaling path or the world model direction LeCun is betting on? Comment your thoughts below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for the LA
Test AI updates and breakthroughs.